Hi there, my name is Ethan Wong, and I'm auditioning for the Yoga 6 Studio instructor position. I am here to essentially demonstrate a quick sample course to show what I've got and a little bit about myself. I'm a very active person, right? I'm a person of energy. I do a few things. I do sword fighting, I rock climb, I hike, I generally like things that get my heart rate up, right? I'm a person of energy. But to me, it also means energy in the other direction. That's why I like yoga. It keeps me to where my feet are, so to speak. Speaking of which, I think that we should start ahead and go with get along with our cat cow poses. These are primarily breathing poses intended to sort of get us into the rhythm, get us into mindfulness. For the purposes of this instruction, I'm going to be referring to that side as the wall side. This side is the window side. I'll be sort of like side profiled rather than straight ahead and sort of pretending as if I'm potentially mirroring for a potential class, right? So let's go ahead and get to our tabletop position with our hands directly beneath us and knees directly beneath us to create right angles. A little bit of a difference, right? You can do things a little differently. I have wrist injuries, which is why I'm going to be very careful here. How we want to do the cat cow pose is that we're essentially going to be doing poses as we breathe. These are very mindful breaths. I'm going to show you first, and we're going to do it. We're going to start with a cat pose, in which we breathe deeply out while rounding our backs and making it a point to not at any point droop the shoulders at the ears, but rather intentionally directing them away in the cat pose, bringing the belly button to the spine as we exhale. When we breathe in, though, we will be arching the back the other direction, taking a deep breath into the stomach, right? Trying to not let the shoulders round up again like that. And we'll go ahead and begin, right? We're going to start by taking a deep breath in and letting it out, touching that belly button to the spine, rounding the back. And we breathe in and out as we go to the cat pose again. Back to cow and back to cat. And at any point for the new people, if we are having difficulty following along, just try to mirror what I do up front. Okay, and the cat-cow pose is essentially that sort of way to teach us and get us grooving into the idea of breathing along with our poses, which is something we'll also be doing with the downward dog pose. Right, this is a pretty famous one. Most of us have seen it. The concept here is that we're going to be in a bit of an arch position with our whole body, our hips up high. We want to place our hands here solidly, a little bit like tabletop, except that we're going to ground our feet, our toes into the mat, and lift that arch up, lift that hip up high. Okay, right, just like that. We're gonna need to take a second, I think, to adjust this. You can have your feet far apart, close together, and the concept here is that you want to keep the back straight and, if possible, the legs straight. I recently did some deadlifts, and my hamstrings aren't the most flexible at the moment, but if you can, try and get them fairly straight and get the heels to the floor. Yoga is not just a sport for flexible people, but it is a great sport, or I guess activity, for those who want to work their flexibility. And it'll be just like this, right? We're trying to not keep our shoulders up like that, trying to keep them activated and in front of us, so to speak. And we'll return to an old position, and we're going to get to our first flow poses, right? This chaturanga, as we call it, is essentially a flowing from one pose to another in a sequence, right? Almost like a rhythm, a strange slow dance that we do to increase mindfulness of our bodies. We're going to be doing this in conjunction with our breathing, okay? And how we're going to start is that we're going to start in a high plank. That looks like a push-up position. Try to get the arms directly beneath us. For those who have wrist injuries, we'll potentially talk on this later. Get the feet back, right? Just like that. Keeping those abs braced, somewhat hollow, not sagging, not arching high, but fairly neutral. Okay? And then we're going to do this. We're going to be having a breath with every single pose, right? So we do this with a breath in and a breath out. And as we breathe out, I'm going to go to a low plank, right? Your typical plank position on the elbows. So when we breathe out, I'm going to go down like that and then like that. Okay. Try to keep that core stable, maintain, no sagging, no arching. And then from here, we take a deep breath in and we drop while we do that breath. And then as we breathe out, importantly, we do this as we breathe out, we lift ourselves up in this, what we call the cobra position, because it looks like a cobra or a snake rearing up, with its little hood and all that. One of my favorite animals, actually, but I digress. Importantly, here we can don't let the shoulders sag. It's easy to get lazy. We let ourselves get a proud, strong chest and let that stretch in the back and stomach make us feel good, honestly. Yoga is an activity of sensation. As we breathe out for that, we will be breathing in as we lift ourselves up from this position using the power of our core, digging our feet into the ground again. It's the floor again, into our downward dog. And as we take another deep breath in, we go out to normal, right? So really quickly, we'll do it one more time, right? We start in a high plank, breathe in, breathe out as we go to low plank, breathe in and drop, breathe out as we go to cobra. Okay, breathe in and breathe out as we go to downward dog. You can take steps if you need to, and this is where we typically uh, have our students like pedal out those legs if we're having flexibility difficulties, such as myself. I'm not the most flexible person in the world, uh, but it is kind of just how we want to do that, right? There's different ways to instruct for those particular like mental cues, as far as I think. This next one is going to be our warrior series. It's a quick one that I sort of do myself when I'm feeling not so much lazy, but I need to be efficient with my time. Okay. And how we're going to go ahead and work with this is that we're going to be using some of the familiar poses. This will seem familiar, right? Right. We go into the high plank, making sure for a moment that we got a core braced and all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to hit the downward dog pose, just like that. Remember, one more time, keep the shoulders stable, arch high, back straight, and try to get the legs straight as possible, right? Okay. And once we're comfortably in our downward dog, I'm going to lift my wall side leg, just like that. Little fire hydrant leg if you, for those who own dogs, you know what I'm talking about, and have it shoot forward. Doesn't have to be so extreme. Don't be kicking your mat. Right, I've seen it happen. And try to get that leg, try to get that foot kind of in between the hands. Okay? Now this is where it's going to seem complex. We're going to rotate, the hips going out. The back foot sort of spins down, right? So then it creates a stable platform. And I'm going to start facing the window side here, letting my arms go here. It should look like a very deep lunge position with the arms to the side. Outstretched like that. That is our what we call the Warrior Two. It is a very fun, dynamic looking pose. You can do all kinds of stuff with, but you can do a deeper lunge. You can do sort of angles, right? But that's for another time. I'm gonna do it again, all again, a quick three pose sequence, but I'm gonna instruct breathing with it, which is where we're getting all that stuff from earlier together, and it's gonna seem complex. It really isn't. Right. Like plank, just like this. And we breathe in, and when we breathe out, we go into the downward dog, right? One deep breath for every movement. Breathe in, breathe out. Pedal out those feet if you want to. Okay. Take a moment, deep breath in. And as you do so, you want to kick the leg back. And as you breathe out, between the hands. Okay. Deep breath in. Try not to have to drop to your knees for this, okay? Try and we're gonna be essentially getting ourselves stayed. Why not? Less comfortable when we were just lying on the mat earlier, basically. But deep breath in, and then spin that foot backwards, lift up, deep breath out. All right. That is our most basic kind of version of the Warrior Series. It's how I was taught to do it. It is, adaptable, it's flexible, just like yoga practitioners. And I think that's all the time I have for you all today. Um, I hope that you consider me for the position. I would love to be a part of the team. And, well, talk to you soon.